those guys, and I'm very thankful for those guys. And after 2 weeks of being away from them and vacationing, I actually looked forward to going in and sitting down across from them and joking. You know, it's interesting when you work with someone for so long, which we have now. We've worked together for, 28 years, 29 years, something like that. Worked every day with them at the same broadcast table. And we've seen each other go through so much life together. We've gone through all three phases of life together. And those guys still, to this day, I look forward to seeing them. And it's very weird because a partnership in radio like we've had together, the three of us, is like a marriage, and you experience your life together and you know each other well. And the very fact that I could come back from vacation and be excited to see those two guys and be excited to joke around with them, not just on the air, but off air during commercial breaks, I will never take that for granted. And I will always have gratitude towards them, despite the fact when they hit me with surprising news as soon as I get back from vacation. You know, it reminds me, when I came back from another vacation one time, I remember sitting down, and the first time I sat down with them, they were like, yeah, Phil Hartman died. And that hit me really hard because I knew that Phil Hartman was my favorite from the 90s Saturday Night Live era.
I really appreciate you.
The only thing constant is change. Yes, Cal Cam Smith points that out in the chat here. By the way, if you're joining us for the first time tonight, thank you for checking out the Twitch stream. Thursday nights, 7:35. And if you could, follow us here on Twitch. And even better is if you subscribe, because we're doing a pretty cool thing here with the Twitch stream. If you subscribe, you also get one free subscription, I think it is, if you're an Amazon Prime member. We hope you use it with us. If not, and you want to subscribe, and it costs a little bit of money. I'm not even sure how much it costs, but we do this Twitch stream to fund At Last, which is a great program. It's a boarding experience for children who need a little help in the to have a quiet place. If their home life is not so quiet, they can have a place where they can study, they can live during the week while they go to school. It's down in South Dallas. And so anyway, this goes to a good cause. Your money will be going to a good cause, and you get no commercials. I know that it's frustrating sometimes when I'm talking here and all of a sudden it shoots right to a commercial. If you're a subscriber, you're doing a good thing, and you don't get these annoying commercials that are on here. So thank you. And I want to mention also that Andy Dufresne II just subscribed with Prime. That's what I want you to do. And here's another one, BG320, subscribed for 5 months. Thank you for that. Oh, this is great. Look at you guys. Zoo Circle just subscribed with Prime. M Lank 1027 subscribed at Tier 1. Ace of Base subscribed. Thank you, guys. It's what I'd love to see more of. So, yes, mentioning that change is the one constant. That's very true in life. And until you make peace with that in life, you're never going to have full peace with life. But change is hard, and change, I don't like it. It's something that I'm just like you guys, probably. I mean, I think we're all the same in this, and that we hate change, and yet we also crave novelty, and we want new things, but change also is very difficult, and we have been so lucky, so fortunate that we've had guys that have been at this station for as long as they have. And I know a lot of you P1s have listened for 3 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, or some P1s even listened for 15 years. They've made this station a part of their life. We are all lucky, those of us that work there and those of you who listen to us, to have had such little change over those 28, 30 years, however long the station's been on the air. I know it seems like we've gone through a lot of changes recently. In the grand scope of things, we have had so few changes compared to so many other places. And for that, we can be thankful.
I really appreciate
And this looks like another big change. I say looks like because every time I think that this matter is done, it surprises me and find out it's still going again. And I hear, I obviously I don't feel it's my place to get into all the things I've heard, because I don't even know if the things I heard are true even. You know, it's with a situation that has this many moving parts to it.
I really appreciate you.
You can ask 10 people and you get 20 different stories, you know, so I don't know. I don't have all the info, but I will say this.
I really appreciate you.
I personally am incredibly thankful to Dan and Jake for the time that they spent at the ticket, for the incredible talents that they offered to the ticket. I'm so thankful that I got to work with them and know them.
I really appreciate you.
They're really talented and nice guys to work with. And I'm also thankful for the ticket, the radio station. When you talk about the station, there's two ways of talking about it. There's, and I mentioned this to some of the guys recently, you know, that there's, to me, the ticket is not, it's a group of guys. I would say band of brothers, but that feels so disrespectful to the miniseries that I watched recently, Band of Brothers. Those guys are actually in war together and so on. But there's that version of the ticket. There's the business of the ticket. And there's Cumulus who bought the ticket and has kept this thing going for 30 years. And there's a lot of companies that churn formats on radio stations, and Cumulus hasn't done that. And Cumulus has kept this thing going. The guys I work with have kept this thing going.
I really appreciate you.
It's an incredible place. My opinion is still an incredible place. I'm still going in, and I'm going to look at those two guys that I love tomorrow morning, and I'm going to do a show. And I hope that people are with us for that, for as long as we're doing it. It's so hard to know what to say because so many of you have emotions. I have a lot of emotions. What if my emotion doesn't match yours? I don't want to get in the way of what you're feeling. I'll go to the comments here a little bit and see what you guys are saying. You probably aren't even talking about this. I may be off on a rant of something that nobody else is talking about in the chat. Let's see, with you, Jesus, take the wheel. Always going to be with the Musers, you rock. Thank you. That was Nate. Let's see, incredible if you get first tier money. Yeah, the show host at the ticket have been there for a while. I don't know what this guy considers first tier money. I guess he's talking about the radio station as opposed to life. Like tier 1 life. What happens to Moron Dog? The Moron Dog passed away. Cornelius passed away a long time ago.
Really appreciate you.
Obviously a great place to work. No, Gordon, this is exactly why I tuned in. Okay, well, good. Did the hot hangs owner find out if the hot dog was a sandwich or not? Okay. Let me see if there's something that I can address. God, this thing moves fast. Yeah.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah, this is, and from what I understand about this situation, it is not one of those, hey,
I really appreciate
you know, let me think of how to put this. Because I know every comment I make on this will trigger someone, And usually it's better just to talk and ignore the noise. Try to separate the noise from the signal. Is that the old phrase? But
I really appreciate you.
This has been going on for a while, and those sides have been talking. So it wasn't something that just was immediate and
Appreciate you.
see you, we don't care. That's not the feeling that I got out of it. Everyone just left Donnie holding the bag, you know. Poor Donnie. That I do want to make special comment about Donnie and Sean Bass. It's really difficult when you are. This is another reason that have been very blessed, and with George and Craig, you know, we all tend to go in and haven't had these this tumult, and not to say that there aren't good reasons for tumult, but you know, we've had in the past at the ticket has had a guy who had a substance issue, and he was not into work, and he was in work, and then he was gone, and then it was a situation that we couldn't even comment about. This is way back. A lot of you P1s won't even remember this. But we had a show host that had developed quite a problem, and it,
I really appreciate
you know, Mike and Corby were on the show, and it was difficult because, and Danny worked, obviously was on the show too. And you didn't know if the guy was coming in or not, so you always had this question mark hanging over your head of, you know, what are we going to do? Because planning for a show with everyone is different than planning when you're a man down. And it may sound like nothing to you guys. Like, what's the big deal? You just do a show. I mean, but it is a big deal to those people in radio who have to cover it. You know, it is so living with that uncertainty is difficult. And what Donnie and Sean have had to do, stepping in, heck, even with Norm with his health issues, no fault of Norm's, right? But if you don't know whether your partner's going to be sick, you know, having the huge question mark of what kind of show am I going to do today? If you're Donnie, not knowing who's going to be there, that's difficult. And what Donnie and Sean have done, stepping in during this time as these guys are trying to work things out, hat tip to those guys. I love those guys, and I'm impressed with them that they've done as well as they have. Plus, you're doing 5 freaking hours. Like, I think we do a long time at 4.5 hours. I can't imagine adding another half hour to that. It's kind of a long haul, which in the scheme of things sounds silly. Hey, band of brothers, we're only doing 4.5 or 5 hours of radio a day. That may sound like not hard work.
I really appreciate it.
And it's fun work, but it's a long haul if you're doing 5 hours and you're Donnie and Sean during this situation. Okay, let's see. Does this mean real Kevin Robinson is coming back? Another name from the past. Let's see. God, you guys are moving fast. I probably should scroll back where I can at least see some of this. See if there's a question for me. There's a lot of comments.
I really appreciate you.
Let's see if I can grab a question. And somehow I'm always doing a Twitch stream during uncomfortable employment stuff.
I really appreciate you.
Good Lord, what was I thinking going on Twitch tonight? But I knew that I was going to this week because I'd taken so many weeks off, and I had to do it.
I really appreciate you.
And yes, I regret it. But what you gonna do? Hey, we're hanging out, right? Just a Saturday, just a Thursday night. And look at me. I put on a button-up shirt for you guys. I was wearing a T-shirt. And I still need to shave and throw on some makeup. That's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start wearing lots of makeup for these Twitch streams. Something like, I don't know, something like the replacement drummer of Peter Criss. Was he a Fox or something like that? Anybody remember the band Kiss?
I really appreciate you.
Will I still be doing Tuesdays? Yes, my intention, thank you, Slimma, for that question. My intention is to still keep doing Tuesdays at noon until if those guys say, hey, look, we don't want you to come up here at noon, I won't come up there at noon. I'm willing to do whatever they want. But if they want to have me at noon on Tuesdays, I totally want to do it. I absolutely enjoyed my time doing that with Dan and Jake, and I still enjoy it. Eric Carr, yeah, that's the drummer for Kiss that I think was the Fox. I still want to do it. And we did it this week. I was a little bit late because I was tied up with some of this stuff, but I want to do it. I like doing it.
I really appreciate it.
So as long as they have me, I'll keep coming up on other shows and hanging out and joking around. We had a good time today on the Rant Revival. I don't know how many people heard that, but got pretty crazy. Because Bob, and for those of you that didn't hear it, I'll just give you the thumbnail. Bob shared with us his recipe for fake semen.
I really appreciate
It's just kind of what he wanted to talk about. What role did the other host play in these negotiations, and what were y'all tied up with regarding Dan and Jake? Getting involved in that stuff usually makes things worse. When you get a whole bunch of other people involved, it usually makes things worse because there's so many different stories that start going around, and then there's so many different mediators and all of that.
Really appreciate you.
The best way to word it is that everyone was aware of what was going on after I got back from vacation. And people were doing whatever they felt they could or should to try to make things better and to try to bring this to a successful resolution, because we wanted them there. Cumulus wanted them there. I think Dan and Jake, I think they wanted to be here. It's hard to say. I think Dan and Jake had a couple things. Just like any person, you have multiple desires, right? You can't imagine leaving your team. And you also have other things that excite you, creative endeavors. I don't know what those are. They say it's not going to another terrestrial radio station and doing this. I don't know. I don't know what the future is. I just know that definitely part of them wanted to stay at the ticket. But of course, both sides have to get together, and you have to come up with something to where both people, that's what every negotiation is you got to leave with both parties being happy. Both parties will be partially unhappy, and both parties will be, for the most part, happy. That's what a successful outcome is. And then you can stop thinking about it and stop going through the drama of it and so on. And then you can get on with the business of just talking to you guys on the air and laughing with your buddies on the air. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I hate this kind of stuff. And I think that I think most people hate it. I mean, certainly people hate the outcome of these things, unless it ends up with no change, with the people or on the air that you like being on the air. But I don't like all the tension and drama, and I just want to laugh a little bit, as Norm would say.
I really appreciate you.
I know I'm totally botching talking about this. I am aware. Nobody said that. I'm saying that because you can't really talk too much about it, and it's like, I don't know, what is my feeling about it have anything to do with it? It doesn't change things. Yeah. Okay. Too much drama, need more fake Norm. Jake says that. Jake can too, I don't believe. I don't believe that's not Jack Kemp, Jake Kemp. Where's Rocco? I haven't talked to Rocco in a while. I haven't talked to him in several months. What's your favorite sexual position? I think missionary with incredibly direct, unstopping, unsettling eye contact is the way to go. Was Chris involved? No, not that I know of. Plan on staying in contact with them. Yeah, I'm not gonna, as someone once said, I'm not gonna refuse anybody's call. You know, one of those guys calls me, I'll talk to them. I'm sure that I'll call them at some point or text. You know, usually people don't call so much, they text. Although I'm still kind of a caller. Like, text is just so frustratingly inefficient to me that you know what, let's just talk and laugh and catch up and do all that on the old telephone. And I have to do it on a landline. I call people, but not on cell phone. Only landline. And that means not only me being on a landline, I insist that they're also on a landline.
I really appreciate you.
Let's see. Difficult to text with the rotary phone. Gordon, what career advice would you give Jake and Dan? Man, I have no career advice for them. I'm not the person to give career advice. I'm you know, and my career advice would be this. This is my career advice for me, because that's the only career that I truly intimately know, and I barely know that one. Is you have to balance the how satisfied you are at what you're doing. There's going to be discomfort to doing new things, and there's going to be discomfort to staying and doing old things. There's discomfort in life. This is all built in, right? But if you're making a decent living and you love the people that you work with, and you can, you're allowed to be creative. I don't have one of those jobs like a lot of you P1s may have. Like, this is just a generic job that is mind-numbing to you. But as I've gotten older, I have appreciated what I have lucked into more and more and more. And I appreciate this job, this station, and this incredible team of people that up until recently had Dan and Jake on it. They're included in that. I appreciate the hell out of that. And when I was younger, I didn't appreciate it so much. And I do appreciate it now. I guarantee you. Every time I wake up at 5 for the 5:35 show, I usually wake up around 4:30, I guess. 4:25 is when I have my alarm set for. I don't know why I have to do that backup 5 minutes thing. Every time I wake up, it beats me to high holy to wake up. But I always have to say to myself as I do my internal dialogue is, look the job that you get to have. Look at the job you get to go to. Look at the job that is requiring this beating of you. And then I compare it to a lot of other jobs and I go, I'm okay. Even stupid stuff, like these stupid Thursday night, ridiculously timed 7:35 Twitch streams, is fun, and it's cool that we get to do it. When are your left hand? How do I sub via Prime? Great question, Cruise Bro. I have no idea. Maybe somebody else will answer you. I don't keep up with all that stuff. Does it take an hour to brush the beard? I'm not a beard brusher. Like I do on occasion, maybe twice a week, will brush my beard. I don't have a very long beard, so you don't really need to comb it out or anything like that. You should be an AC guy like me. That was from Huey, my right-hand guy here on Discord and on this Twitch. Yeah, I can't imagine what Huey's going through during this heat, working on air conditioners, wearing long pants and all that.
I really appreciate you.
Am I behind on this? Subbing with Prime doesn't work on iPhone. Really? And that's Nicolo, who's a great P1 here, and he knows what he's talking about. Well, dang. I don't like that. When the Muser's contract is up, do you foresee any issues with negotiations? You know, it's hard to answer. So let me think this out. There's always issues with negotiations. That's why you're negotiating, right? So I guess I don't understand exactly which version of issues you're talking about. Issues as far as like insurmountable difficulties? I don't think so. We haven't hit those yet. I mean, every time. Okay, how much should I get into this?
I really appreciate you.
There is radio people do it a couple of different ways. There's no one way of handling this, but you can either represent yourself, go in there and talk to management and kind of come up with the deal points, and then you do your deal. Or you can get an agent or intermediary. And a lot of times that's a good idea just because, I mean, show hosts are creative people. They're, reactionary. That's what makes them good at opinion making and all that sort of thing. And so maybe having the emotional, opinionated person isn't the best person to have in the room when you're dealing with management, whoever's representing the company. And so what you do is you get an intermediary where they can have all those conversations behind the back and nobody's feelings gets hurt or anything like that. And so you're not in the process. You talk with your person, they go and talk with them, and then they work it out. And a good agent, knows that. And they keep the emotional content from you as if management said to, let's say I had a representative and management said to them, hey, Gordon, I mean, he's undependable and I don't even know if we want to hire that guy. Well, my agent is not going to report this to me. First of all, I can't imagine a company that dumb that would say something like that in a negotiation. But a good agent doesn't pass along stuff that is not actionable. It's not helpful. And all it is going to do is tick you off. The whole idea with the negotiations is you don't let emotion enter into it. You're trying to work out a situation where both sides profit from their relationship with each other. So that's why I think that's the argument for an agent. Argument against is I think they take like anywhere from like 10 to 20%. I don't know. So that's the argument against. The other argument against is you got to make sure you have the right person. If you get a person who's interested in making things combative, this is all my opinion, by the way, and I have no expertise on this. I've studied no books on negotiating or anything like that. But anybody I wouldn't want someone from the company representing the company, and I wouldn't want somebody that's representing the employee or the talent. Haughty word. That is a chair-kicking emotional person. If your representative for your side of the negotiations is a person who likes to do it like he's seen in the movies, then I think you get another person. Because anybody who increases the conflict in a situation that you're trying to, that already has inherent conflict of two different views that need to somehow compromise. This is also all marriage 101 stuff too, right? Then to to me, that would be a bad choice for me. I feel like I'm going into a bunch of stuff that you guys are not that interested in. So just let me know if I am. So do I anticipate if the Musers got into a contract negotiation that it would get tense? This is why I was going into it, because I met, and this is way too inside, and I really feel weird talking about it. But I have the false sense of security that this is an intimate gathering, that we don't have P1s that just repost this stuff and let it go beyond our intimate one-night gathering that's supposed to be live, and it's not for some permanent record. But so I'm going to work under that delusion right now and just count on the honesty system. Honor system, what is it called? But when I used this one particular person for a negotiation that I was having with a company, because I've negotiated with a few different companies over my very non-illustrative media career, that person taught me so much, because I thought that agents did do that. You know, we're going to go in there and we're going to tell them, you know, exactly how much you're worth, and they'll take a hike, you know, if they can't do it. All the stuff that I'd seen in movies, that's what I thought they did. And this person said so many wise things to me, like, wait, no, you're not thinking about this right. No. And it really was like instructive to me in my life about how this is, that the best way to do things is not make it a battle of wills and to not make things contentious. I want to also, by the way, make sure that everyone knows I'm not talking about these particular negotiations that have gone on or whatever. I'm trying to tell you a story about something I learned in life, about my own life. Is that you don't want someone who makes things more contentious, and you want someone who works on behalf. That's not the right way of wording it, but basically works to make both sides happy. Even though they represent you and they're there to advocate your side, they also are respectful of the fact that the other side also has needs, desires, restrictions, and whatnot. Okay, so what you're trying to do is reach a fair deal for both parties and not get so blindsided by... It's the same thing as respecting a partner in a marriage in some sense, right? You know what you want, and you don't understand why that other person just can't see it or do it, or why won't they just do this for you and everything. But you have to realize, okay, they're constrained or governed by another set of desires, wants, and needs and necessities. Things get better once you start realizing that. And it was strange that this agent in this particular negotiation with me, that I've gone on to have quite a friendship with since, taught me so much about life when he taught me about conflict, potential conflict, and that in a business sense. I'm not saying that I've been perfect and not had any conflicts, good Lord. You guys would know that's not true. But I have to try to keep reminding myself of when I don't understand why someone acts the way they do, or when someone wants something the way they do, I have to remember they're a different person. They're a different entity. They're sitting on a different side, and they have different concerns. So that's what you do. Yeah, PVFW80, which I love any PV name, says play both sides. That's a common complaint by a few guys who listen to the ticket. They hate it when I do the let's look at this from the other side, or a different side, or here's a different perspective, or whatever. And I get that. If it's not your perspective that you think, you know, that you've come to the conclusion is the right, and I'm sitting here wasting time talking about, well, you got to think about this too and everything. Maybe you don't have to think about that. It's just something that I'm led to do. And it's made my life better, but it might not make yours better, because I may be wasting time considering the wrong side, right? trying to come up with why someone does something and trying to steel man their side of the story. I don't know. And that could be frustrating, and I get it, and I acknowledge it. Let's see. Gordon, you can be my agent. Yeah, I don't know that you want that. How is there not enough money in such a huge organization? Well, I don't know that I don't know the finances. I know some of the finances of the company, but not much. People are always surprised when we don't know a lot of the finances. I can tell you this, there is no way that I want to be a manager of a company that has to look at budget and income and then see all the expenses. Everyone thinks that they deserve more money. This is not about Dan and Jake. I got to make that clear. I'm not saying that this is what they were saying or not saying or whatever. I'm talking about in general. See, this is why I shouldn't have done the Twitch stream, and you guys got to be nice and extend me some goodwill and some latitude here. But I know that it's very easy to... Have you ever been... Let's say you got the married couple, and one of them kind of does the books, and the other one doesn't understand why you can't just spend more money. They say, well, the money's there. And then the other person is saying, yeah, but don't you understand that this money goes to this, this, and this, and this, and this? And they're like, yeah, but I don't understand because this much money comes in and that seems like a pretty high figure. And you're like, yeah, but there's so much going out the door that, have you guys ever been in that situation? You know, I think that can be the situation in business too. I don't know that it is. I don't know anything about that. Yeah, let's see. Dan said earlier, don't stop listening to the ticket. Listen to the ticket more with the pillows. What? I got to get better at scanning the chat and pulling out the good stuff. Cumulus CEO made $5.5 million in 2022, and the ticket was their number one station in the entire nation. Was it the number one station in the entire nation? I mean, entire Cumulus nation? I wouldn't doubt it. Ticket has been a strong performer in the history of that company. Gordon, have you ever considered committing a bank robbery? Who would be your crew, or would you fly solo? I could not. I don't see how anyone gets away with crime these days. Too many cameras, too much. We talked about it today. Too much DNA evidence you leave behind. It just seems impossible. Now you look back at the old days and you think, gosh, it must have been so easy to live a life of crime back in the old days. And it also makes you realize, I bet you about half the convictions they got in the old days were bogus. Like, how do they just, with old gumshoe police work, find this dude that did this thing when now we know how unreliable eyewitness testimony is and everything, and some guy gets convicted in 1890 of something and is shot right there on the spot? You really believe the chain of evidence and the policing that happened back then? I don't know. What about eggs? That was a placeholder type question. Why doesn't anyone talk about how AC is the greatest invention of all time? It is a damn fine one. I mean, heck. I wonder what air conditioning did to us culturally. This is part of that other, considering another side of something that people would consider as a waste of time. But my neurodivergent brain gets on these tracks and has to keep pursuing it. Yeah, so once AC came about, people would stay indoors, and you stopped having to escape onto your porch from the heat and fanning yourself out there, and then your neighbors are walking by, and you say hi to them, and you start having this social life. But central air, or even air conditioning with window units, which was before HVAC, central, that had to affect the way people related to each other, because you weren't out on the front porch all the time trying to cool off. and just get out of the stuffy environment. We had a swamp cooler. Yeah, swamp coolers, they work. They can also make things really mildewy and wet inside. Oh, yeah.
YouTube.com/@SportsGreek.
Will Donnie and Sean keep doing 5 hours as a permanent replacement until a permanent replacement is found? I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that. Gordon Keith, professional tightrope walker. That was from Gay Firmino. Yeah, I mean, you do have to, when you talk about any very emotional issue, you are walking a tightrope, you know. You also have the considerations of what was said to me in confidence, and I don't want to share that. That person probably wouldn't be comfortable if I shared that. And yeah, I mean, I like a lot of people that are involved in this. So, can you confirm that Kat and Dan? See, these just all sounds like a. Do I feel confident about the future of the ticket? You know, I've never been confident in the future of the ticket since the very beginning. I mean, and this is true. Like, we did not think that thing was going to survive, and we get more confident. We got more confident, I would say, as time wore on after about year 5, you know. But still, I mean, things can change so quickly, and the ticket could go away for a number of reasons. So we can't predict what's going to happen. That's why it's so important to just show up. Just show up, do your job, and see if you can make it through it. I mean, when we lost Grego, that was a huge blow to the station. Certainly those of us who'd been there since the beginning. I mean, he was the star of the station. This is a former co-host that did a afternoon drive show with Mike when Mike was on afternoons. And Mike and Grego is the show host name, they were incredible together. And Grego was kind of this country witticism guy, and I mean, he was the star. He was absolutely the star of the station for its first 10 years or so. I'm not sure of the time frame there. And when we lost him, who knew what was going to happen? You know, you always have, and you're in a very competitive radio environment. I mean, there's a lot of, it's insane that the ticket has done this well with this signal. You guys have fought through it. You know it better than I do, because I can at least hear the station in my headphones. You guys have to fight through signals that don't quite reach and apps that cut out and so on. I mean, the fact that it's successful at all in some ways is a miracle. It's a miracle. So I don't take the ticket for granted, and I don't count it out. That's my basically it's a non-answer, because I don't have enough information to know if the ticket is going to be here 5, 10, 15 years from now or next week. What if the company decides to sell us? And the next company comes in and says, oh, no, we can make a lot more money by just redoing, basically doing a Spotify playlist and just running that. I mean, how bad would that suck? Because the ticket costs a lot of money to run. A lot of money to run, because there are so many dang employees. A talk station is so much more expensive than a music station. And the ticket has a lot of them. A lot of employees. Okay, yeah. Hey, a question for Huey. How often should I hose down my unit? Now, for those who don't know what we're talking about, because it is to Huey, who is an AC guy, he's talking about the outside condenser. You guys do that? Particularly if you have a cottonwood standing in your yard somewhere, you might want to go out, unscrew those panels, and hose down the fins on that unit, because those things get gummed up. You don't get good airflow, and you're going to freeze up your system. Okay, hold on a second. I want you to further elucidate on the stage of your career you're in, where you beautifully describe the perspective on gratitude for what you have. But I can't help sense there's still something in us, even when everything's the best it's ever been, that wonders if there's something else you're supposed to do, something that would get you out of bed with greater excitement, or is all that a fantasy? No, Brian, you're exactly right. Even the most thankful, most gratitude-filled person, happiest person, all their needs met, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all that stuff, will be chronically dissatisfied in some way. This is all my theory, and cue the people who go, 8th grade philosopher. Yes, you win on that. I think that's human nature. I think it's the human condition. We're built to be dissatisfied as soon as we get satisfied, right? Whether it's the hedonistic treadmill that we're on, or I think broader, this is the philosophical point, or my take on it, is that it's because we know we're going to die, and it's because we have godlike minds trapped in these squirrel-like bodies. It's the natural tension between having the mind of an angel and the body of a goat. Basically, that's what creates the tension, because we can conceive of a better world because we're imbued with this intelligence, this imagination, this future-looking self. And since we are granted that imagination of a world that's better than the one we actually have, we will always be dissatisfied with the one that we actually have. And the trick is to find the hacks, the religion, the whatever it takes for you, the methods, in order to feel gratitude and to be thankful for what you have. When a situation like this comes up, I have to do that same thing. For as much emotion as I have about what's going on right now at the station, I'm very thankful for Jake and Dan. And I'm very thankful for the ticket. And I'm thankful for Cumulus, and I'm thankful for you guys. You know, as much as every one of those pieces could frustrate me at different times. I mean, heck, you have conflicts with coworkers. You have conflicts with your boss. You have conflicts with your co-host, no matter how rare they are. In those moments, you always got to remember, okay, at least I have a bunch of good things to be upset about. Sometimes we're so freaking lucky to have the problems that we have. Oh my goodness. Gordon, will you sign off each stream while playing guitar and singing The Man in Black by Johnny Cash? God, Johnny has such a good voice. Do y'all do that to deal with uncomfortable situations? You go and listen to, who's your comfort voice? Who is your comfort voice? Good question. Because when I go back and listen to artists that I really love, for some reason I get sad. I don't know that it lifts me up. What would I listen to be lifted up? I guess you got to listen to some kind of hand dolphining song, right? Teenage Dream, Party in the USA. No, Monty, not Ray Stevens. Morrissey. Yeah, Morrissey's really going to lift you up. Oh, my goodness. Do I ever play or sing any Roger Miller? He was a genius. Roger Miller was a genius. I don't know if anyone remembers him.
I really appreciate you.
Okay, let's see. Any other questions you guys have for me? I've probably gone way too long, and I've probably said way too much. And I'm sure I'm going to hear from somebody who's like, man, I wish you hadn't have talked about that stuff. And that's my business. I hope not. I hope I'm trying to be respectful for everyone involved in this, and respectful of you guys who I know wanted to talk about it tonight and wanted it at least addressed. And I want to make a comment also on the frustration that you guys understandably feel when something is going on and you can't get enough information, and you have to start turning to any place you can when you want to know what's going on about a story, and you're trying to hear, and then you got people who claim they know part of it, and other people who or speculating, but saying it as if it's fact, and then that gets compounded. I totally understand all that. Like, I know why that happens. And it's frustrating for us to not be able to talk about it openly. And it's not because I do see this story get put out there quite a bit, that management won't let this and won't do this and everything. And that's, I don't experience that. I've never been told, hey, you can't talk about this or you can't do it. It's kind of been left up. This is my experience, right? It's left up to what you think is best. And while something was ongoing, which is this was, it's like, well, you don't know what to say. You know, you don't know whether to have a funeral or say there's still hope, or, you know, you also have, when we went with the Gordo situation, which happened many years ago that I've referenced earlier for those just joining us. It was a guy who was going through addiction issues, and there was medical treatment involved in that. And you legally, like, you couldn't talk about it. So he wasn't there, and then you couldn't talk about why he wasn't there, and out of respect for him and his rights, his medical rights. And then when you get legal involved, you know, it's, you can't talk about things. In this case, it's like, all we can do, the best we can do most of the time, is just acknowledge that
I really appreciate you.
Yes, this is going on. At some point, you have to say, yes, this is going on, but from what we know, people are working on it. And that's what Corby did the other day. And I didn't get to hear Corby do it. I was going to be there for that at the time, but I had to go do something else at the time and couldn't be there in the room when Corby did it. So I haven't even had a chance to go back and listen to it yet, but I from what I hear, he did a very good job, because Corby is a good guy. Okay. Are you all going to talk about this in the morning? I believe we are. At 8:15 tomorrow morning was the last I heard, was that we were going to talk about it. There's been a couple times where this is seemed like it was at an end, and we were going to talk about it, and then tried more Hail Marys to get things going, and so we put it off again. And so Corby finally addressed it when we thought that we had some good daylight. And then now I don't know what's happening, but the plan is, last I heard, was at 8:15 tomorrow morning. We're going to address it. Then I heard another confusing story tonight that, well, I don't know if we're going to do that just yet. I don't know. I'm telling you, if you guys were in the middle of this, it would make your head spin. It's been so confusing. Anyway, you know, yeah, I'm not going to address that.
I really appreciate you.
This is what I'll say. I'll end on this. I don't want to. I want less tension in the world, believe it or not, despite my on-air performance. And I certainly want less tension in those that I like, right? On a very basic level, what I want is to go in and do the show with George and Craig, my buddies, that I've been doing it and dedicated my life to, right? The three of us have given such a huge portion of our lives to each other and entrusted that to each other to do the show together. You know, our show has outlasted, I mean, we've had people die. We've all experienced the death of each other's parents. We've seen each other go through the ups and downs in our personal lives and personal difficulties. Any health scare, we've been there for each other. And I want to do that show. And I want people to listen to it and enjoy it. I don't want them to listen to it because of something we get out of it. I want them to listen to it because it means something to them. And that makes me feel like my life is worth something, because I've battled self-worth issues for as long as I've been alive, which you probably have too, right? It's human. You wonder if you're doing the right thing. You wonder if you're making the most out of yourself. Is this really where I'm supposed to be? We all have those thoughts at some time or another. And I started realizing, I don't know when it was, around year 10 of the ticket. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know when. But that's when I really started seeing this as more than just a job, that, man, this is awesome and it's just fun. I also think, and I've talked about this before, so I know I'm not breaking any new ground, that I also now believe that the job means something. I know it means something to me because I've learned to appreciate the hell out of it. And that I get to go in and try to do what I can to use whatever skills that I have to try to be funny or be compelling. You don't have to be funny, just try to be at least interesting, worth listening to. And I've heard from so many of you guys, whether it's on this chat or email, whatever, and I know this is all sappy stuff and I'm getting self-conscious about it. I apologize. But you tell me that it means something to you, that the ticket has, that our show has, and that makes someone feel like they live a purposeful life. And I do feel that 100%. Didn't used to. 3 times a week on the way to her dialysis, and you know, I lost her 8 years ago, but we bonded on that, you know, just stuff like that. And that's awesome. And here I know you guys are getting sick of crying users, because George is the same way, and Craig gets choked up. We all get choked up. So yeah, make fun of us olds for being all mushy. But I have ears for those messages. Like, those messages mean something to me. And I think me in particular had a unique situation where I had a father who was a pastor, and I always felt so much smaller than him because I saw the way he could influence people's lives. And that was a very clear, this guy is actually doing something worthwhile and meaningful and helping other souls and comforting them in their time of sorrow. You know, he would do it one-on-one in counseling and grief counseling or marriage counseling or whatever, you know. I mean, it was so clear to see what he was contributing to the world. And I didn't have that. I could not see what I was contributing. So how the hell could you think that being an AM yuck monkey was contributing to the world? And there's still some of you P1s who will say this, you know, you'll watch this stream and you'll go, Gordon sitting here saying that his job, that he's important in the world. Well, you know what? I am important. You're important too. So if you're making somebody's life easier in their time of suffering, I say that's important. I'll take ownership of that. I'm a big jerk. So yeah, you guys convinced me of something, and you convinced me of something that was very important and crucial, which was my own worth. So you did good. And I'm forever grateful for that. And my brethren who are, it looks like they're leaving our little group, I love those guys. And because I love those guys, I don't have to hate someone else. So I hope you join us tomorrow morning at 8:15. Because if we're talking about this, or if we're not talking about this, we're going to be talking about something. And we're going to try to get back on the horse. because that's all we can do. Right? We have had to do it multiple times throughout our existence, and you have to. So, and anyway, you take a hit and you keep going, right? Because it's better than the alternative. I don't know. Maybe I'll fold up shop. I don't know. Tune in next Twitch stream when I announce, you know what? This whole thing, too much pressure. You know, every time I think it's too much pressure, that's what's so great about these. I personally love I love being in a 3-man show, because someone once made the analogy to us, and it may have been that same very astute agent that taught me so much about life one time, is about the stability that comes with a 3-legged stool. If you got a 3-legged stool, self-leveling, and it's very sturdy. It stands together, and when you're weak sometime, that other leg of that stool is going to help and holds it up. And that's why I'm so thankful for those two guys. I know I keep coming back to the Musers. I don't know why I keep coming back to my two partners, but I love those guys. They've been through a lot. You guys have been through a lot. Dan and Jake been through a lot. Ticket, Cumulus. We're in life. Life's a lot. All right. So are we ready to see which ridiculous still shot that we get caught up on here at the end? Before I let you go, I'm going to make one more plug for, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We got Prime, right? If you're a Prime subscriber, you know, on Amazon, you get one free Twitch subscription, and we hope that you use it with us. I had intended to call someone tonight. I thought I would call Jub, because Jub is always comforting to me when I feel unsettled. But then I hauled off and forgot about it. Now is the period of the night where I go into deep regret for everything I said. I don't know where I got this from, but somewhere in my life I learned, and it's probably my years of being a drunkard, you know, when you get home, the next morning you wake up and go, God, why did I say that? Why did I say that? I need to quit that, because what's said has been said. But I love you guys. It's okay. You healthy?
I really appreciate
You healthy? You okay? You guys doing all right? Okay. Goofers Gal, thank you. Subscribing. Zwicka, subscribed with Prime. Thank you for that.
really appreciate
Always good to see Lindsay's name in here. Lindsay from South Carolina. Good South Carolinian. P1. I see a lot of familiar names, and I appreciate you guys. We need to do a Discord chat sometime. I enjoy those.
really appreciate
I like it when we just get on with our little headphones late at night and we sound like we're right at each other's heads. Very intimate. Gordo, you and the ticket literally saved my life one time when I was considering ending my life. That's a very heavy thing that Paul in is saying. And I have my little stack of emails. I've told you guys this before, of stories that have been sent to me that are more just a line like Paul said. And if that's true, Paul, like that kind of stuff is scary to me. To think that you can have that much impact on someone. And this goes for anyone, you know, because you can just say hi to someone who is having a really hard time, just a stranger, as you're holding the door open for them at CVS, and they'll say, you know, that bit of kindness there somehow got me off of this train of thought that I was thinking really self-destructive things. So if that's true, thank you. And Quick Death in Texas talks about that article I wrote on drinking. Yeah. Thank you. Please blink twice if you're being held at gunpoint. You keep looking into my keep looking like you're scared. Well, I am scared, to be quite honest with you. Because it feels like this is a really heavy topic. And I don't know how to handle it. I'm the last person I would entrust to handle a heavy topic like this for our group of listeners, our family of listeners. It's a big deal. And I don't have a lot of confidence in myself to handle it well. But this is what I'm telling myself right now. It's 8:47, and I made it through. I addressed it. I had to go through hell to even get this equipment to work. I was having all kinds of technical issues. Are we done with our talk tonight?
I really appreciate you.
Do we just play the whole last 4 hours tomorrow for an 8:50 e-break? What does that mean? I haven't been on doing this for 4 hours. This ought to be the e-break. Credis 93 says the girls call me a three-legged stool.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah, the This Is Water video from David Foster Wallace commencement speech. I've seen that before. I remember thinking that was really good and liking it. I'd love to go back and revisit it. It'd be good. Okay. All right, I'm lingering. I'm lingering here at the party with you guys too long because it's too fun to hang out. But I love you guys and I'm proud of you. Are we even on the air anymore? Let me see. Yes, we are. Yes. Oh, hey, look, we got past our goal. Our goal, as you guys know, is to have 400 of us here gathered in this place, and we beat that tonight. So that's good. I just wish we didn't beat it for a reason like this, you know. But it is what it is, and you and I made it through the hour together. That's the way you get through things, right? Oh, man. Okay, here we go. I've got the end stream button here. I'm not going to do a raid because I don't have anyone pre-selected. But as I always say, I love you and I'm proud of you. It's what every child needs to hear at some key critical moment. And I say it at the end of every one of these things because I guess that's the parent in me trying to tell the kid in me that all the time. And who knows, maybe one of you needs to hear that message right now. But if you're slogging away at life and you made it this far, I love you and I'm proud of you. I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning at 5:30.